Today we are diving into Dark Winds Season 3, Episode 3. Welcome to Screens in Focus, the podcast where we talk about TV and movies. I'm Diana. Renee is here. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello. I am very well. Excited about this episode. How about you?
It's a great episode, so I'm ready to dig in with you. But of course, we're going to start with our question of the day. And with our question of the day, I want to give a little bit of background because it pertains to Joe is having these experiences and it's ghost sickness, which is a culturally related grief disorder. It is a syndrome found in some Native American and some Polynesian cultures, and it's characterized by symptoms being lethargic, nightmares, feelings of dread, often attributed to the presence of spirits or ghosts, particularly after a loved one's passing. So, with that, Renee, I would like to know, do you believe a spirit can affect you mentally, emotionally, physically? And have you ever experienced anything like ghost sickness? Okay, so think about it. We're going to answer it later. Friends out there, think about it. Let us know what you think. We're going to ask this and answer it later on in the episode. All right. So I just wanted to bring out a few or announce a few premieres that are happening soon. And that is The Last of Us Season 2 is April 13th. The Walking Dead Dead City is May 4th. And then Karate Kid Legends, May 30th. So that is a movie from the original Karate Kid. And of course, with Cobra Kai ending its sixth season here, I'm really excited about Karate Kid Legends. I'm excited about all three of them.
Yeah.
What do you think, Renee?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Yeah, The Last of Us is looking to be like it's going to be incredible. I mean, it was such a great first season. And of course, Dead City, we get extra 2 episodes this season. That's exciting. So they expanded that a little. So there's a lot of good stuff coming.
I think I read somewhere that The Last of Us, the trailer had so many views that it was like a record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think I saw that yesterday, day before, something like that. So I'm like, wow. So yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on that series, on all of the things I mentioned. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
But for now, let's get to Dark Winds episode 3. And I would love to know your overall thoughts on this.
I thought it was another excellent episode, and I like how they are continuing to add these new faces in, but they're doing it so seamlessly. It doesn't feel rushed or pushed or forced or anything like that. It just feels like, oh yeah, this is they encountered these other people, or this person, we're learning more about this person. So I love that. And it seems like all these investigations will kind of start to intertwine at some point, like we hoped.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited to see how that plays out.
I thought the same thing also about the new group, because we were kind of concentrating on the bad guy possibly being where the dig was, and also with Spencer, knowing Spencer was involved somehow. But then all of a sudden we're introduced to this new group. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is getting bigger, but smaller, because I think they're all intertwined somehow. So I just thought it was a really great episode. I love the group and the new direction I feel that it's going into. We get to just read people and where the red truck came in and so much more. Okay, so let's talk about what any of the highlights were for you.
Well, for me, one of the big ones was Vine's body. They found that all decayed and out there in the elements for how long? 6 months or whatever it's been.
Yeah. I didn't even realize. Did we know it was quite that long?
I read it somewhere and I was like, did we? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, somewhere, but somebody got that from somewhere. And I must have missed it, but I was like, oh, talking point. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, this opens up, Washington's investigation. This Joe, he already has all this guilt and he's heavily feeling the weight of his actions, and so this has really opened up a lot of things for Washington and for Joe. And so it'll be interesting. And it's trickled down to affect some other people, as I'm sure we'll talk about. And so, yeah, that to me was one of the biggest things in this episode was, finding his body.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool the way they opened up with those two boys. And I initially thought that the two boys could have been Ernesto and
Same.
George. And I'm watching them, but I thought they're young because I thought they're smaller than I thought they would be, was my original thought. And then when they saw something, I'm like, what are they seeing? And then they pull that bathrobe. I don't know what that was. I thought it was like the bathrobe tie is what I thought it was.
Yeah, they were pulling it out.
Yeah. And then I realized, oh, these are two different boys. That made, because I thought, oh my gosh, they're so young. Not that it's okay for 13 or 14-year-old boys to be dead or missing. It's just that the younger it gets, it just feels so much worse. But I thought it was kind of fun and interesting to see these boys, how they play. What was fun for them at that time. And they're thinking, we're going to make this ramp. We're going to make it steep. We're going to go out, be kind of like Evel Knievel. And so I thought that was a fun way to start and bring us into. Also, I think it was showing us a little bit of that 70s feel and that the bike and just everything else. So I really like the beginning. And then of course, we find out it's the body, and it brings in more of Washington and just what she learns about the body, and that he wasn't killed in any manner. So it just sparks a lot of curiosity. So I thought that was a highlight too.
And of course, Joe's guilt, he's having more visions, he's remembering things, he's just, all this stuff is happening to him, and it's affecting his just everything. It's affecting his marriage, it's affecting his job, it's affecting, just every aspect of his life because of the guilt that he's feeling. And I had looked back because I was thinking that Sheriff Gordo had warned him, and I looked back, and in season 2, he said to Joe, if you kill a man, they're bound to you. Wherever you go in this life, they're with us. Maybe the next one too. And I thought of, because I knew there was something he had told him, and this is proving to be very true as we watch Joe's story unfold with everything that's gone on.
Yeah, that moment when he was with Washington and he was starting to choke, and then he spits up all that blood, and that thing comes out, looked like an arrowhead. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's seen him. And then it's like, oh no, that was just a vision of what that he's experiencing, right? But that's the physical part of it, even though to us he's not really, well, he kind of really is, because that's what he's feeling like.
And then talking about Washington, as we watch her dig deeper, she obviously knows that Joe knows more than he's sharing, and I wonder, does she even suspect him, or does she suspect him and waiting for him to just make that one mistake that's going to unravel everything for her? So it'll be, she's very smart. She's really paying attention to him and his actions, and she can tell something's off. And so it'll be, I'm excited to see how that comes about, if she does discover, and how it happens, because what will that mean for him?
Okay, so I had mentioned last week that I think that she, knows a lot more. She's just not saying it. She's waiting for him to flub up or say something that's going to, just give her more. But it's funny because she says, we need to investigate the people that were, whose loved ones were involved in that explosion. And he said, me and Emma are more than willing to sit down with you. And she goes, oh, no, you're the law. She goes, I just want to sit with the other 5. And that part, I'm like, is she, I don't know. I can't quite read her on that part. Like, does she really believe that? Is she just playing along right now? It's so interesting, and I love it. But at the same time, I don't, because this is why I don't love it, because I care about Joe so much. I don't want anything wrong or bad to happen to him. And I can't figure out how this is going to end, because I also don't see her as a bad person, as far as like the last
Yeah.
FBI guy. He was a bad guy, right?
Mhm.
He wanted money. He was willing to kill people. Where I
Yeah.
think she's just trying to do her job.
Yeah.
She's not per se a villain of any
Mhm.
sort. So, you know, what's going to happen? Because she could, if she does her job
Mhm.
and she finds out, she has to arrest him.
Mhm.
So I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the part that's killing me.
Yeah.
So I keep hoping that she along the way ends up just allowing it to happen somehow, just realizing what needs to be done or what happens. Maybe she's saved somewhere. I don't know. Who's to say what happens? I'm just like thinking ahead. How is this going
Yeah.
to play out? And so I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see.
I was thinking one thing if she that because I was like, yeah, I'm kind of the same how you are. Like, I don't want him to. He can't get
Yeah.
arrested. He's Joe,
Yeah.
you know, and all
Yeah.
this. But I was like, what if she finds out that Vines was responsible for the explosion and she finds proof of that? So then she kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, we'll kind of look the other way thing because he
Yeah.
was a horrible person.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just one thing I thought about. But
Yeah.
so it'll
Well,
be interesting for sure. Yeah.
that's
So
what I would hope.
yeah, that's what we want. That's what she should do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so poor Emma, I just as a wife, I feel so bad for her because you know she feels betrayed by the man who shouldn't betray her, and their son's memory. She says, you know, he's stained that with blood now, and then she talks about the spirit in their home, and that's something she believes. And we've seen her with different things, the wolf, there's or coyote,
Yeah.
whatever those were. You know, she has seen these things, and she pays attention and respects those beliefs, and so it's tough on her, and as a wife I can't understand her, you know, feeling that way because he didn't consult her, he wasn't honest with her, he hid that from her, and you know, trying to protect her, we understand that, but it's still it's you know, that relationship, that, you know, husband and wife, there should be honesty there and things, and that's, you know, that's just how she's feeling. And so it's really it's hard to see her because she's just such a support to him, and just tries to support everybody. You know, she's just one of those
Yeah.
people who takes care of everyone. So it's real sad to see her in this position.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because we just talked about how their relationship last episode, how sweet it was, and still it's still sweet. It's
Yeah.
just a marriage. It's just a
Mhm.
marriage going through some
Yeah.
struggles.
Yeah.
But it is hard when you see them in the last episode, just the sweetness and the lunch that they had together and everything, and now it's like, ah, darn. She's They're going through it, but I love it because it is realistic.
Yeah.
It's so realistic because
Hmm.
couples have disagreements, arguments, different way of approaching grief,
Hmm.
and so much more. So I really think that they're going to get through it, but it's just, but she's has a reaction to it, and it makes total sense, everything that she says.
Hmm.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next episode holds for those two.
Hmm.
All right, so another huge highlight was Bernadette. So what did you
Hmm.
think about her and all her? I'm really going to be really curious to see what you thought about her approach to going to her boss and all of that.
Well, I thought it was pretty smart of her to do that because he just wants her to, that's what he wants her to do. You know, he wants her to be a team player. He wants her just to toe the line, do how they have always done things. Don't mess with Spencer. Don't mess with this business. Just let things go. And she's like, yeah, okay, that's what I want to do. You know, so I thought that was really funny because we all know that was a ruse. You know, there's no way that she's not gonna just, okay, fine, I'll just turn my head. That is not her personality. So I love that she did that because I thought it was very clever, and that it did help her kind of do something. You know, she was able to get, you know, another conversation in with Spencer. She was able to, you know, all these things. And that Budge, man, I don't know about him. He's kind of a scary guy. Because he's smiling at you, but you know, that is not his face is not reflecting the emotions.
I've got chills because I was feeling it when he gave her that look in his eye, and I'm like, oh my God, you're so scary.
He is, yeah.
Ah!
And And, he just was like trying to intimidate her. Then he humiliates her and just makes her figure out her way
Yes.
home. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, he is just, yeah. And the whole thing about returning the gun, I still don't quite understand I don't know what you thought about that, but I didn't know what his game was with that.
I think it's a warning.
Mm-hmm.
It's a warning
Yeah.
because I think that he is not intimidated by her.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, hey, here's your gun. Because it wasn't him that had the gun, it was that
Right.
other guy that they got rid of. So it's like, we didn't mean to take this.
Yeah.
Here, have your gun back. But no,
Mm-hmm.
we're watching you and don't step over the line. And I think because of Spencer too, because Spencer's feeling pretty confident too
Yeah.
and everything. He's not afraid of her yet, although they don't really know her and
Yeah.
her
We don't know her
team.
true. Yeah.
But I agree with you. It was so smart of her to go to her boss and say, I think I crossed the line and what do you want me to do? And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she's doing this. It just was brilliant on her part
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Also, so brave, so
Yeah. Yeah.
gutsy. And so, yeah. And then when she goes there, it's interesting because Spencer does bring her coffee in a sock.
That's a new one for me.
He's all a clean one at
Oh,
that. And
clean. Yeah.
I'm
It's,
like, even so, it's not working for me.
no, not gonna try that one.
But then he gives her coffee and he's all, okay, I think you can find yourself out. So I mean, he's like trying to get rid of her, like, okay, I don't need you bothering me
Yeah.
anymore. But she's just pushing it because she's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, so you have your security, riding shotgun on these rigs that are,
Yeah.
trucks that you're taking. And then of course that's the opportunity for her to go look around and look into that shack.
Yeah.
Okay, what were those yellow things? They look like bowling balls, but I'm sure that they weren't. They were these
Yeah.
yellow balls, and then I'm like, what are those?
Yeah. I don't
And I
know.
and then I was trying to read what that guy came, and he had like welding equipment with him, and she's trying to get information, and she mentions the pig,
Yeah.
and he kind of, no, I don't understand, or no, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, or something, and goes away. But man, she is just so gutsy. She's so gutsy. It's like crazy to me. And then when she did get in Budge's car, she kept saying, no, 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 no. And then she did get in his car. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh. And then that's when they drive there and he gives her that look. And I was just freaking out for her. And I knew he wasn't going to do anything. I think he's being intimidating to her, but I think he slightly, very little bit likes her a little bit. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I think he appreciates how bold she is and
Mm-hmm.
how gutsy she is. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that he's like, okay, I won't kill you just yet.
Yeah.
Or that's
Not
his thought. That's
yet.
his thought anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think about Ivan? Because I kind of had a little bit of a different feel of him this time. I felt like, oh, well, maybe he isn't a
Yeah.
bad
I still
guy.
can't read him.
I know.
I still feel like there's something with it, something not good about him. But like you said, he did kind of change a little bit this time, which could be him trying to put a good face on for her. He's very hard to read. Yeah.
Well, and this time when she was telling him when they were sitting, in that little
Mm-hmm.
area, it looked like a changing area. They were talking. She was showing him what she had learned. I felt like, okay, she trusts him. And the way he was talking back to her, he wasn't, he was like saying, oh, what are you doing this for, or whatever, but he wasn't pushing her really
Mm-hmm.
hard to not look. Like, he didn't say, oh, you shouldn't be looking at this, stop doing that,
Yeah.
which I thought he would do that. And
Mm-hmm.
he didn't really push that. And then he was there to pick her up. Then I'm thinking, yeah, are you just acting like you're still her friend, or
Mm-hmm.
could you be? Could you be her
Yeah.
friend? It's been hard to read, but at first I thought, no, he's on the other side. He's
Yeah.
just doing this. But now I'm like, I'm not sure yet. I got to give you a few more episodes to figure it out, I think.
Yeah, he's hard to read. I still just have a feeling he's a bad guy for some, just because I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe
Well,
not.
yeah, he could be. He could
Hmm.
be. Okay, so the drug house, those farm people.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was, yeah, very cultish.
Yes.
He spoke, no one, contradicted anything he said. No one added anything to what he said. And it was just very, very strange. And then, we find out that,
The red truck.
yeah, the red truck is there. Suzanne, then she confirms that he lied and he did leave that night, the night that Ernesto was killed. So, whether that's coincidence, but, he did leave that night. And then they have the pictures of the Border Patrol agents and, Bernadette's pictures there. And yeah, so now that's where we're like, okay, so somehow this is all going to fit together eventually. But yeah, I thought it was a fun element to add these, hippies. It's at the 70s. Of course there's going to be hippies, and stuff like that. So that's, but it was, yeah, very cultish for sure. And yeah, I don't know what to make of them though.
Yeah, you could tell there was something with all of them. They were all very dirty
Hmm.
and they all had forky and it was funny because I noticed the it wasn't a rake, it looked like a pitchfork, a couple of
Yeah.
pitchforks, and I thought, could that have been what scratched Joe?
Mm.
Because he has those scratch marks that look like claws.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, these pitchforks could have done something
Hmm.
similar
Yeah.
to him.
Hmm.
And so I noticed that a couple of them were holding that. One was holding an axe. And I'm thinking, yeah, they have two guns when they first went, just with Chee
Hmm.
and Joe went there. They have two guns, but there's a bunch of guys there with a bunch of weapons and they could have bombarded them.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting interaction with them. But of course, Joe could read Susan or Suzanne and that she knew more and wanted to tell more, which she later did.
Hmm.
But then in the end,
Yeah.
they all take off and then
Hmm.
they leave her with an overdose of the drugs that
Hmm.
this drug house is. And so and knowing that, seeing Bernadette's picture, that was huge. That was a
Yeah, that was,
huge,
yeah.
really tying it together. And we had
Hmm.
wondered, how is this going to come together? And this
Hmm.
is telling us, this is
Yeah.
slowly getting there. So I know it's too early and we'll dig into a little bit to our characters and themes, but do you have any thoughts about how it's going to tie all together?
No, because it's still very segmented. We still have a
Yeah.
lot of, like, we got drugs kind of here, we got trafficking over here, we got border agents that aren't paying attention to what Spencer's doing because whatever, and is he involved in all of it? Is he
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
piece that ties them all together possibly, since he has the money and the means to do all these things? But why the reservation if it's that far away from his? Yeah, I can't quite figure it out. I figure Spencer probably has something to do with it because he's the money man, and I guess out of anyone, he's the only one that could possibly put everything together. But
There's also the dig because
yeah, yeah,
that's still not out of the
that's
picture
true.
yet.
There's still that in there. Yeah,
So that still has to do with something. Unless they're digging, but it's not in the same place. That's the thing. The dig is, I don't know where the dig is in relationship to where these farmers are at.
yeah. That I
That
don't know. I don't know quite where the farmers are. Yeah.
Well, I know they're a little bit further out because they're not that far off from the cabin, because that's what Chi and Joe were leaving from, the cabin, after Leaphorn was attacked, or yeah. And so then that's when they,
Hmm.
go further out to find out who it could be. And they happen upon
Hmm.
these farmers that they had no idea about. So I don't know. I don't know. There's too many. I don't think that we have enough pieces yet.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's still too segmented to get that piece that ties it all
Yeah.
together.
But I have a few thoughts, but I'll share them. I'll share them a little bit. They're not anything concrete. They're just a few thoughts, but
Yeah, but it's always fun to speculate.
yeah. All right. So anything else on any of these characters, or any themes that pop up to you that you saw?
So guilt, remorse for Joe. He's got so much. He feels guilty about his son's death. He feels guilty about what he did to Vines because that's not his it's not his natural tendency to do that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so, I think he's feeling remorseful about doing it, even though he felt he had to do it. He continues to tell himself that I did, that he's like, I did what I had to do,
Yeah.
and then says it again the second time
Yes.
where he's trying to convince himself,
Yes.
that was such it was weird how that little tiny thing that meant so much. It spoke volumes as he whispered that to himself, and so, yeah, I just think that, that's something that's just weighing so much because he's trained to protect, he's trained to to uphold the law, not break it. And so just all this stuff is just weighing on him. And then all these spiritual aspects that are happening, and then he's starting to have his with the visions and the nightmares and all these things. He's just got so much going on. It's just, how does he even focus on his job?
I know, right? That's why he's falling apart. Not falling apart, not falling apart. But what I mean is that he's experiencing this, right? Because he's trying to do two different things that are really weighing on him. And yeah, I had guilt and consequences also, the guilt aspect of it. And because he is having those visions still, things keep happening. He still sees the ants. And I think with everything that Emma said, it kind of brought things more into focus as to what this can mean for them. I thought it was interesting when Emma went to their house, or the parents' house, and I loved seeing her help the mom with what she was doing. I thought that was just, I don't know, something about when I see things like that, it just, I don't know, makes me feel good about just seeing that life.
Yeah.
And but the dad wanted to hear the radio, and he's all, yeah, he's always Indian justice, which is what he told Joe. So I think in a way Joe felt originally somewhat validated for doing what he did, because his dad's the one who kept saying, he had said before he went and did that with Vines, he's going to get away with it, and we need Indian justice here. And it's funny just the way he says it, though, his dad. But, and that's what I think Joe was going on, because he's like, he is going to get away with it. And what is my son? And how is he going to get away with that? But it's so true what Gordo had said last season, like you had brought up, and what Emma is saying now, because I didn't think about it until she said, you invited it into this house.
Yeah.
And so those are the consequences that are occurring now, because it's not just going to affect him. It could affect her and the rest of the family, which, makes you wonder, maybe it's not just Joe's guilt and in his head, it's actually something that's going to happen to the people around them and affect those people. So, wow, it's so interesting to watch it and to see it and to feel of all of this. Also, I think, like you had mentioned, his morality, which is, what did you say? You said guilt and remorse. Yeah. So yeah, it just has that outward ripple effect that's occurring. And is doing the right thing, or the thing for justice, is it really going to end your pain? Probably not. Your pain is still going to be there. And that's the thing, right? People think that if they do something, or they get back, or they get revenge, that's going to make them feel better. But it doesn't. It doesn't, because you still have that pain. You still lost that person. So, and now you have to deal with repercussions of that.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hurt and sadness, Emma, of course, I already mentioned a little bit about that, but I just, it's just, I think she feels that Joe forgets that she also lost a son.
Yeah.
And she kind of says that, like, it's my or our son, and so I think she feels like he thinks he's the only one hurting, even though she hides it maybe better or whatever. She seems to hide it better anyway. She still has all of that too to deal with and things. And so it's tough to see, like you mentioned, we mentioned that sweet little lunch they had, and then now they are at this point. And so it's always sad to see that, even though every marriage experiences things like this, maybe not exactly this, but things. And yeah, so it's heartbreaking to see her feel this way about him, because we know that they're a great couple, they have a great marriage and all those things, but it's always sad to see these things come between them. So
Yeah, I know. I do feel for her when they showed that last scene with her when she walks out and then she just starts crying.
yeah,
Oh man, I felt so bad for her because you're right. And also, we're only seeing it from Joe's side of
yeah.
it too. So I really appreciated that they showed her reaction and
Mhm.
how it's impacting her.
Yeah. And then I was thinking about danger for Bernadette. I feel like she's just playing too close to the fire. She forgets she's not on the res anymore, and things are different where she's at, and she's not even acclimated to this. She's not been there that long to know the ins and outs of everything. And she doesn't know, which of her coworkers are on what side. It's hard to trust people
Mhm.
because she doesn't know which side they're playing, because it seems like a lot of them are, forced, they're like, oh, they're gonna let Spencer do whatever he wants. And so yeah, I just feel like I think, she's something's going to happen to her. I don't, obviously I don't think she'll die or anything like that, but I think there'll be something happen with her that's significant before this season is over.
Ay, ay, ay. Oh my gosh. I hope not. I'm worried for her. But I do want to say, okay, we've already talked about how much we like her, but I really
Mhm.
do love her. And I
Yeah.
loved seeing her in this episode because, again, it highlighted so much of her character. When I thought about this series, I thought, okay, Joe is sort of the main character. And hearing that there were so many books on Leaphorn and Chee,
Hmm.
I would have imagined that Chee would have been like right there next to Leaphorn, but I kind of feel like no, it's really Bernadette.
Hmm.
Bernadette to me is the second main person in all of this, and then it's Chee. And I don't
Hmm.
mean that like drastically
No.
different levels, but that's just how I kind of see it in my head. I feel like
Hmm.
Joe, Bernadette, and Chee. I just see it
Hmm.
in that, even though they're all together, and this series needs all three of them. And I
Hmm.
love the dynamics between all three of them. But I feel like Bernadette plays such an important role
Hmm.
in this whole series. And so I love seeing her highlighted here and just all the strength that she brings to this character and this role and just everything that she is doing. And like we had said, she had gotten into the car with Budge and I did see themes of that power and control because he has the power and control. He gets her to get into his car and he gets her there. And like you had mentioned, he leaves her there. Even though she wanted to take her car, he's all, no, come with me, come with me. And then he leaves her there. He's like, you can find your own way home. And I'm like, okay, there is no Uber. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to wait 30 years or whatever's for that. So that's not happening. And yeah, I guess she could have called a taxi, but I'm not sure where they're at because they had to get in and out of a gate to
Yeah.
wherever they're at. So they're not like just downtown,
Yeah.
wherever they're at. So, and the fact that she was, poor thing, she's like walking and her feet are killing her and they're all dirty. And Ivan, right? God,
Hmm.
the name just doesn't fit him for me, but
Yeah.
he, comes to pick her up and says,
Yeah.
oh, this is not how I imagined our date. And she's all, who said it was a date? So it was a nice to see them that end, but it was
Mhm.
interesting to see her relationship with Barge.
Yeah. He says something like, I think at times you could be a problem for me or something like that. I forget the exact quote that he
Yeah.
says, but he says, I have a feeling something about that she could be a problem for him.
Mm, yeah.
Like he's warning her that I am watching you.
What about Chi and Shorty? Because we did have some
Yeah.
scenes with them too.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like they just kind of throw that stuff in and it's not as, for some reason, it's just not as impactful I don't know why, but I wish they would put some more emphasis on it because like you said, I expected him to be more central in the story, and not that he doesn't have important parts or whatever, like you said, but they kind of like do this little thing and then it goes, whatever. But yeah, I thought it was interesting with their interaction because they talk about his dad and stuff, right? Isn't that Shorty's dad and all
Yeah.
that? And he's like, you're not your dad, and so it's just interesting to see him even just from the beginning of the season, how he was so mad at him. And so, that old, animosity towards him and things like that, and remembering all the things that happened when they were younger. And now he's like trying to make him feel better and things like that. So I thought it was really interesting how he's kind of changed his tune
Yeah.
where he's concerned.
Yeah.
So, but it makes sense because that's just the type of person she is, and I think once the initial anger wore off, then he was able to like, okay, this is silly to hold this
Right.
for these years. We're adults now. We should probably try to move past this.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting. And I do like how we do see little bits of his, we keep getting fed these little bits of his history and things as the story goes on.
Yeah, I was concerned when Shorty says he's dead, isn't he? Or do you think he's
Mhm.
dead or whatever? And
Mhm.
I'm like, no, because I don't think he is,
I
but I thought, man, for a father to think that his son is gone. And then
Mhm.
I started wondering because they never said anything about the mom, where the
Mhm.
mom is
Yeah.
or could be. Is it just them two?
Mhm.
And thinking, here's a man working on his car because that's all really he can do. His son is gone and he's not
Mhm.
really showing emotion. And he does care about him. But I agree with you that it not being like the highlight, because that's okay, we're almost through all of our highlights and characters, and it's like, oh yeah,
By
let's
the
bring
way.
yeah, by the way. So they did have those moments, and I think it is trying to show
Mhm.
that she has evolved and is moved past that. But I do want to bring up one moment when they are looking for Suzanne, or going back to
Mhm.
arrest everybody with the cops and such. And they hear the car because he sees Bernadette's picture,
Mhm.
and then they hear the truck start up and he goes running out. And I don't know why I thought it was funny. It's not funny at all, but it was funny when the truck comes out and the one police officer jumps out of the way because the guy's going to run him over. And then she's all, jumps out of the way too. I don't know why. I just thought that was funny because it's true. That could happen. And it was just so funny watching them jump out of the way. So, yeah. And then Suzanne is she dead or is she not dead? I don't think
Yeah,
you
I
think
think
she
she died.
is?
Mhm.
Oh man, I don't know. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell.
I just thought like just the way I don't know, she kind of slouched or something. I just like, oh, I think she's dead, but I could be wrong. But
No, she could be dead. It's hard to say. I was hoping he could get more information out
yeah.
of her, but if he could, then so maybe she is dead because it was hard to tell because he's, oh, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. I'm going to stay with you. And then he
Mhm.
almost left and then he
Yeah.
didn't. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I got to stay
No.
with her.
Mhm.
So it made it feel like she was probably going to die because he's like, I
Mhm.
need to be with her too, as she was trying to. And he says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm like, why is he saying he's sorry? Well, I mean, not like he did anything, but I
Mhm.
was curious, like what motivated him to say that. Is he sorry she lived that life? Is he sorry that she was
Mhm.
caught up in this? It was interesting that he used those particular
Yeah.
words to her. So I don't know. All right. Any other thoughts? Any theories? Any takeaways? Anything you're excited to see?
I'm just excited to see this story continue to progress because it's just been, I mean, I really enjoyed the first two seasons of this series, but this third is just, I don't know. It, I love the addition of the, more focus on the supernatural kind of things and stuff like that. I'm really enjoying that, but the story just seems to get more rich and more depth to it, I guess. This season, I don't know if I'm paying more attention or what it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just feel like they've upped their game this season, and it's better than it has been. Not that it was ever bad, but yeah. And so I'm just excited to see what's going to happen. And I like my brain, like I keep thinking, I was well, what if this and what if that, and I just have no idea. And I'm sure I'm completely off base, but yeah. So I'm just excited to see it continue.
I am too. As you were saying that, I was wondering what that could be, but it could be just because we have season 1 and 2 behind
Yeah.
us. We know them more.
Hmm.
We care about them more.
Hmm. Right.
So when you care about somebody more, it just better. And I think the story is expanding and it makes sense. And it's gone into a good progression here because in the
Hmm.
first episode, Chee was introduced and he was undercover. That was a great story. And then the second one is, oh, okay, now he left the FBI, now he's joining. And so I feel like, and they had introduced a pretty good villain. And that's when BJ Vines, we began to know more of what he had done. So I think it kind of, the second season tied up what had happened and with the explosion. So it brought answers, but it wasn't until the second season did we find out what really happened.
Yeah.
And now it's the consequences of what BJ Vines did and then what Joe has done and how that's moving forward. Plus with Byrne going to Border Patrol.
Yeah.
I don't have any big thoughts or theory, or I have lots of thoughts, but theories, but I do want to say that Pig is going to be something.
Yeah.
And I know that Pig is something in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly what the pig means because I haven't read the books.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just gathering this and it may not be true, but it has to do with tools and the tunnels. And I find it interesting because that guy was doing the welding and Ernesto was found in one of the like drain pipes and there's a dig happening and it has to possibly do with drugs. So are they tunneling a certain way? I have no idea. I don't know. But I will tell you in Mayans, they did use to get to Mexico and back, they did use underground tunnels and
Oh yeah, for sure.
ways. So I don't know. I'm just grasping at things out there, trying to think, what could this mean?
Yeah.
Where are we going with this?
How does it all fit?
Yeah, because Bernadette is 500 miles away. So why do they need her picture here? Is somebody driving trucks? And it's like, okay, when you get there, so maybe it's just drugs and human trafficking all in one. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh man. So much to ponder. Oh, I know what else I wanted to, a couple little things that I noticed or wondered about was Joe had asked Chee to find out about the leasing company. And I assume he meant the farm. And it was called AG or something like that.
AGS maybe? AG, I felt like it was 3, but AG
Yeah,
something.
leasing. I think it's leasing. AG leasing. I'm not really sure either. But like, who is that? He's looking at the pictures. When he goes to go into Washington's office and look at what she's looking at, comes back out. I'm like, don't get caught. Don't get caught, Joe.
I know.
even though it's your precinct, don't get caught. It's FBI stuff. Anyway, but then he, comes back and answers the phone and goes out. But so who is this leasing company? I'm sure that's going to lead to somebody else. Is it, who owns that? Does Spencer own that? Does somebody else own that?
I thought it was like AGS, and that's why I thought it was AGS leasing or something. So this as a Spencer maybe is what I kind of thought. So, but I don't know, that we could be way off on that too. Who knows?
Probably not. I think, yeah, it's a good thought. Also, I didn't see the name, but when Budge took out his wad of money, he had a green, like, rubber band, and I couldn't read it, but you saw.
I paused it because I thought they were like, they made it very deliberate, and I was like,
yes,
is that something? And so I did. It said something fruit company.
Oh.
But the first word there, it was wrapped around the other way. So all you could see was like a little symbol, but you could see that there were words on the other side. But then what you could read was fruit company. And I was like, well, I don't know if that means anything. Maybe it does. But yeah, it just seemed very deliberate. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm looking at that. And so, yeah.
We're looking for anything.
Like, oh, I need a clue. But like he held it up and like who does their money like that? You're just gonna do it down here at the side. It just seemed very like, look at this thing, so probably nothing, but
yeah. And she noticed it, right? She's trying to figure it out too. She was doing the same thing we were. Like, what does it mean? So yeah. So that was good.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's it, right? Are we ready to get to our question of the day?
I think we are.
All right. So back to the question of the day, which is, do you believe a spirit can affect the living physically, emotionally, mentally? Have you ever experienced anything that felt like ghost sickness or maybe even heard about it?
So I guess I always believe like if spirits come back, I always feel like they're evil because I'm kind of a black and white person. And I feel like there's a heaven and hell. You go to one, you go to the other. There, that's what I believe. So I feel like if there's anything left behind, I feel like it's got to be evil. So I always try to think, nope, they don't exist because I don't want anything evil. And so that's just kind of how I feel about it. But I've never personally felt any effects from anything that I felt was like a spirit thing or anything, but I do know I have family members who have experienced some really interesting things where they believe that it was, my husband and my daughter do ghost hunting. They haven't done it recently, but this has been years ago, but they do that. And they have shared some crazy experiences that they have gotten on tape. And I don't know how to explain it. So definitely, I've heard their stories. So I'm not going to discredit it because that's what they experienced. They experienced it.
Yeah.
So, but personally, I don't feel like I've ever. If I did, I ignored it probably. Like,
I know, right? Or talked it away like, that what?
that was nothing.
That door closing? I was the wind.
Yeah, there's an error or something going through here. Yeah. So that's yeah. So yeah, it's tough to say.
So it's so funny. As you were talking, I'm like, gosh, me and Renee are a lot alike in a lot of things, so much. But yeah, because I think that I talk it away too, because I'm like, oh, I don't want a ghost or a spirit because that could be really bad. But then if you think about it in a way of like you say your loved one is always with you, right? I mean, you don't think of them as a ghost, right? You're not saying my blah blah blah's ghost is here. No, but you say blah 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 is with me because you mean it like in a different way, right? In a really more of a spiritual way, right?
Mhm.
They're looking over me, they're taking care of me, they're giving me a sign, there's a butterfly. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of people feel that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that is true, but I at the same time when you think of like ghosts, I think of it as like scary, like somebody's going to come and murder you, right? Or they're going to
Yeah.
come get you. But I think I have to reframe my think because I have a lot of family members that also believe in ghosts and
Mhm.
spirits and such. But I think just my mind tends to, like I said, that moved from here to here because of the wind or the cat got it or whatever it was. So I tend to discount things
Mhm.
sometimes. But yeah, like you said, how are you going to discredit what somebody else feels and
Mhm.
does and how they see things? And I think with Native Americans and maybe other
Mhm.
cultures, they don't see ghosts and spirits as bad things
Yeah.
unless you've done something
Mhm.
to that person, then it might.
Yeah.
So I think that is why Joe may be experiencing these things. Of course, I was thinking this is all in his head, right? But
Mhm.
maybe it's not in his head. Maybe it's more than that because we're just going through this in our perspective. But
Mhm.
this, this our perspective is just one perspective. There's other ways of viewing this. So what Joe has experienced could really have happened.
Mhm.
So it's so hard to say. And as far as me experiencing something like this, I've had siblings and parents. My parents have passed away, but I've had siblings pass away.
Mhm.
And I will say when one of them had passed away, I didn't know it yet and I was somewhere else and I felt uneasy wherever I was at. I felt like I was really, really homesick. And I didn't know
Mhm.
why, because I was with my husband, I was with his family, we were celebrating. I thought, why am I feeling this in my gut? It was later that day that I found out one of my
Mhm.
siblings had passed away. And I thought, oh my gosh, I felt something.
Mhm.
Why did I feel that? Did I
Mhm.
feel that because I could sense my family was going through something that I wasn't there with them? Or was it because I was with my husband's family and I was just missing my family?
Mhm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can't tell
Yeah.
you what it was, but I
Mhm.
did 100% feel something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's very interesting. You know, the universe is magnificent and it's huge, and there's just a lot of beliefs and a lot of perspectives and so much out there that we don't know. So, yeah. So it's all very interesting. So, I don't know, friends out there, what do you think? If you have ever experienced something like this, we would love it if you would share with us. You can comment wherever you are listening or watching. You can get to our social media on our website, which is in our show notes, and that is at screensinfocus.com. Or you can even call us if you have to tell us a story. We would love to hear it. That would be 669-223-8542, because we want to know. All right. And please come back for the next episode, episode 4, because we will be here to break it down with you. And we'll be at the halfway point by then, Renee. So
Yeah.
it'll be good. All right. So that is the end of our conversation on Dark Winds. I was going to say The Walking Dead. I can't escape it. I can't. All right. So let's get to our TV and movie recommendations. So what have you watched, Renee?
So we just have not been watching many movies. We've been engrossed in these series, and just that's been our focus. So I don't remember if I mentioned The Pit, but I will do it again if I already did. It's so good. It streams on Max. The interesting thing about it, each episode is like an hour from their shift, or some approximate. Well, I think it is about it because it's like a 12-hour shift or whatever. And so yeah, it's just crazy when you watch this and see how this emergency room and how all this stuff happens, and then you realize, wait, this is the same shift. All this stuff has happened through the same shift. So it's so good. It's very well done. So I highly recommend it if you have not watched it. And on your suggestion, I watched Adolescence on Netflix, and oh my gosh. So that little actor, I can't remember his name, but the kid who plays the teen in that is phenomenal. I mean, you would never know that this kid has not been acting since he was 5. I mean, like, you would think he grew up acting. Yes. And I think this is like his first real thing.
It is. Owen, I think his name is Owen.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Owen, but I couldn't remember. Yeah. But he is amazing. The story it'll rip your heart out. It is 4 episodes, but my gosh, it is an amazing, amazing series. And yes, and that's on Netflix. And then I had several years ago watched season 1 of The Great it's on Hulu. And I kind of it's one of those ones that kind of fell off my radar kind of thing. And so then recently it popped back up as a thing you should watch, And I'm like, that's right. I never watched season 2, and not realizing there's a season 3. So I've been going back through that. Well, I just started with season 2, but yeah, it's just, it's one of those period pieces, and they even say in the thing that it's, this is not historically accurate, or it says, so I forget what the tagline says. It's pretty funny, but it's just a lot of fun. It's just absurd. Things that happen, you like, seriously, your jaw is on the floor because you cannot believe things they say or do. It's just,
I love it.
It's kind of raunchy and stuff like that, but it's just funny. They're so good together. And anyway, it's just been a lot of fun to get back into that one. So
love it. Great recommendations. So The Pit, I only saw a couple of episodes. Mm-hmm. It was good, but it didn't like suck me in. But my friend texted me today and loves it. You're saying how great it is. So I might just go back and finish it, because I have invested a few episodes and I liked it. Yeah. So I will go and see it, because I'm sure it's going to get even more gripping. Yes. And The Great, I haven't seen that yet, but that is good to know that I could watch that also.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you watched Adolescence. I tell everybody that I come in contact with. I told some girlfriends that I met with over the weekend, and then the one just like binged it all, because they're hard. It's 4 episodes. They're about almost an hour long, but it is heavy material.
Emotional.
So yes, so it's. But I'm so glad that she watched it. Of course, no one everyone talks about how incredible the acting is, like across the board,
Oh yeah.
because the fact that these people did it they did 2 different takes and then they picked 1 take to use. That's it. 2 takes, like from beginning to end, and that's it. You just got to go.
Yep.
Just go and do it. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just incredible. So
Yeah.
I love it. I've never seen anything like that before. I don't know if they'll do more storytelling like that, but it was just so gripping and so good. So please go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah.
Something that I love is Severance. It had its finale. The finale was phenomenal. It was incredible. So many things wrapped up, but at the same time, there's a new thing. And it's very complicated. And I do want to say, if you do watch this, it's people severing their brain. They have innies and outies. If you go to work, that's your innie. If you're out being your regular self, that's an outie. So you have these 2 different versions of yourself. But your innie begins to have a life. And your outie is a different person. So most of this is concentrated on the innies, the people that are in this office and how they are trying to figure out what their job even is. And all these little bits and pieces come. It has like this dark humor underneath it. So it can be quite like funny in a dark way, which is very, very cool. It's brilliantly written, and Ben Stiller directs many of the episodes. It's just so well done. People are raving about it that are fans and have watched it. They're like, this is the best show ever. This is the best finale ever. People just are loving it. So, but know that you will get a little screwed up and you will think you're dumb. It's funny. I heard these critics, these like actual film critics, say, I thought I was too dumb for this show, because I was like, I don't get this. You have to like try to get to the next episode and then things become clearer, because I thought the same thing. I thought, this show's beyond me. I can't follow
Yeah.
it.
I can't do this. Yeah.
But when you do, it's so well worth it. So I highly recommend Severance. Okay, this is what does my son say when I'm watching shows like this, these reality shows? He says something. I'm doing something in my brain. I can't remember what he calls it. Oh, I wish I could remember what he says. But basically, I watch Temptation Island, and it's I don't know why I watch it, but I am always gripped by watching these people, what they do to their love life and their girlfriend or boyfriends, and what they put themselves through. Why they would expose themselves on a show like this, I don't know, but they do. And I'm hooked because I'm watching it. So I binged it all. I couldn't help it. I stayed up late, but it's always entertaining. So that is on Netflix. It didn't used to be on Netflix. It was used to be on regular broadcast television, but now it's on Netflix. I finished Vikings a while ago, and now I have started Vikings Valhalla. It's on Netflix. I'm enjoying it. I think I enjoyed Vikings more, but my husband and I are on the 2nd season. I think there's 3 seasons out. So we are enjoying the story as it continues. And I did put on the first episode of Dope Thief. It's on Apple Plus TV. And I only watched 1 episode. And this is about 2 buddies who pretend to be DEA agents and steal other people's drugs. Okay. But what ends up happening in the first episode is they steal the wrong drug dealer's drugs and find themselves in a predicament. So that's what that is about. And I do want to mention 2 movies that are out, and one is Honora. It is finally out on Hulu. And this, of course, is a winner of 4 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Director, and I believe Best Editing. I think it's Best Editing. But this is about a sex worker from Brooklyn, and she meets a Russian kid. I say kid, but he's not really a kid. He's like 21. And she marries him, or he marries her, whatever. But then the parents end up finding out, and they want that annulled. And they're, of course, not here, but they're coming this way, and they send their people to get them to get this annulment. And it's just a really interesting ride. And it is a drama, but it's also a comedy. Like, there are moments in there I did laugh and chuckle, because I'm like, this is crazy. And it was made with a $6 million budget. So
Wow.
check that out. And I also want to bring up Sing Sing, which is on Max with Coleman Domingo. Have you seen this?
Not yet. Again, it's on my list, and I just
It's on Max. Wait, do you get Max?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So it's based on a true story of a man in prison in Sing Sing, but he has this group of a theater group that he's in, and they perform and put on plays, and that's sort of his outlet. And it's just his life in prison and the other prisoners that he has relationships with. But man, Coleman Domingo was nominated for an Oscar. He didn't win, but that's that's beside the point, because his performance was amazing and well deserved. And of course, I was secretly, even though the people that won, I wanted them to win, I was like secretly like, could Coleman Domingo win? Because a lot of people felt that, like people that aren't even Fear the Walking Dead fans, they just love him from so many other things. But just phenomenal performance, and I highly recommend that movie.
Yeah, and I think only Coleman, and then I can't think of the other guy's name, are professional actors. The rest of them were actually Sing Sing. They were prisoners in Sing Sing that went through that theater program. So I thought that was really neat that they got to do those roles and things. So I thought that was really, fun.
I love that you mentioned that. I totally forgot. And that is so true. And I knew that, but it escaped me. And that's incredible. And now thinking back at the performances that I saw, I think the director was probably an actor, because I just felt like he was just too good at it. But I'm sure the other inmates were inmates. And so, so good. It was so good. Really good. Makes me want to go watch it again. All right, Renee. Oh my gosh. Thank you for joining me again today. I'm so thrilled that you were able to.
I'm always glad when you ask. It's just always a blast.
Please share with people your writing with Undead Walking and everything else you do.
Yeah, so I write for Undead Walking, which is mostly dedicated to The Walking Dead and the actors who are in any of the series and things. And I keep a lot of news up on where, what new roles are going to be in and things like that, and try to cover a lot of that. So it's undeadwalking.com. And I write for some other sites like Netflix Life, and Winter is Coming. I do some freelance work for some of the other ones, but I know you put my link in the show notes. Yeah. And so if you want to see what I write, you can click the link.
Yes, please do. All right, Renee. Love it that you were here with me and friends out there. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy that you joined us. We hope that we gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, some inspiration. Remember to follow Screens in Focus at screensinfocus.com. And remember to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.